Hi, I'm the mini painting noob, and today I'm going to do a review of Speedpaint. What are my thoughts overall in terms of a beginner learning how to paint with Speedpaint and its use in board games. So preparing your board games, I think a lot of people are interested in getting their board games painted up, and so I'm going to have a look at Speedpaint and see whether it's a good option for people like myself. So I'll share my experience. So let's open the box and see what is inside. Effectively, the game is your character. You are a cousin or relation of the three little pigs, and it is a race to build 3 houses. So, because you are a character, you need to be represented as a figure. So let's have a look at the Strawgatherer. So we're looking at the purple character. This is what the game portrays that character to be. And if you're familiar with the speed paints, you'll notice a few issues right off the bat, is we don't have those colors available to us. So I painted this, and I think it's not too bad. The orange is a bit dark. The rest of the mini was pretty straightforward if I could paint within the lines, which I couldn't to start off with. So the white was a real problem because I painted the orange first and that bled onto the white, and then you know, the reactivation issue that's all over the internet. The orange would come through the white once I painted it back over again, and it just kept doing it over and over. So what I did, I sprayed the varnish over the mini and then painted white over it, and it was fine. So not an issue there. So I recommend doing the white highlights and stuff last, after you've given the mini a varnish. The greens here, I've made up my own sort of pastel colors using the speed paint, a bit of medium and just normal white paint. So it's, I guess it's not speed paint anymore because of that regular acrylic being added in. So I think those, you probably don't get the shading automatically with these because it's got that thicker white paint pigment in there. But it shows that the speed paint colors can be very versatile if you've got some other regular paints to mix in. So you don't need to buy, you know, a speed paint set and an entire lot of other paints to get you know, the colors that are missing. You only need to have a select few. So yeah, and here I've done a metallic blade, and we've got the handle with the wood, and you can see in the recesses speed paint has done what it's supposed to do. So that was the Strawgatherer. We'll then move on to the Marketgatherer. So here we have another female pig, and this one again I've done the pastel colors. This one has that much lighter yellow, which I think looks a lot better than that darker yellow I did on the other figure. So this one I did one of the last figures that I painted. The bag I haven't done the right color. I was trying out dark wood. I wanted to use dark wood on something, and I thought maybe she has a real old aged dark leather bag. Plus she's carrying sticks, and if I did them both a lighter brown, then it wouldn't have stood out so much. So I wanted a contrast with the sticks and the bag. So here's pretty straightforward for this basket, is just straight up speed paint. The yellow is that pastel mix where I've just added some medium, and so it's like a drop of white, a drop of medium, and a drop of yellow. And you just add you know, either white or yellow to make the color that you're after. And the same for the purple or lavender color here. I used this Hive Dweller purple, and this is super dark. You can see, so that lavender color originated from this Hive Dweller purple. So these colors are really flexible, which is what I'm liking. And the yellow originated from this Zealot yellow, and you can see in the darker areas it's a really dark orangey yellow, and I was able to make it look this pastel-y color. So yeah, any issues with this one? Holy white is a problem. This apron and the ribbon are supposed to be white. I was hoping, probably, yeah, I'm a bit naive, probably as a new painter, I was hoping Holy White would be white, and with a little bit of shading. But when you think about it, white with a little bit of shading is grey, and so I painted grey effectively all over the white parts here, and instead of her having a nice white bright ribbon and a nice white bright apron, she has a grey apron and a grey ribbon. I fixed that a little bit by dry brushing some white over some of the highlighted, raised areas, so it brought some brightness back to the ribbon and the apron, and that worked fine, like no reactivation problems or anything like that. And again, salmon pink for the skin, and yeah, I had to play around with facial features and stuff like that. Overall, Speedpaint did its job on this one. I was able to get the colours that I was after. We'll now go to the Brickgatherer. This one was really fun to paint. He's got that big wheelbarrow, and just one coat and done. This is where Speedpaint shines. Where the marketing is, you grab a mini that you just want to have one colour and you paint a coat and you're done. And that's basically what the wheelbarrow is. One coat of dark wood. It went all into the recesses where it's supposed to go, and I didn't do any touch-ups at all on that wheelbarrow since. So really, really good result on that. The rest of the mini I used, let's just see, remember the names. Pallid bone. So he's got a pallid bone, pants, that, I can't remember what those are called, and his hat, that's all pallid bone. And again, that just worked, one coat and you're done. It goes and does all of the shading for you. The back of his pants here, one and done. So yeah, absolutely great results with pallid bone. The bricks, I had changed the colour of the bricks a few times, and so these have had a few coats to sort of brighten them up. It started off as fire giant orange, but they were quite dark, and so I dry brushed over them a few times, and put some yellow over top, and it's just, I don't know what color it is in the end, but it looks pretty good now. And so that's just evidence there that if you are not happy with the color that you've got, you can always go over it again. Sometimes you can just put water on an area and rub the paint off. Other times you can dry brush and make something a little bit brighter. And I just kept on working on those bricks until I got them to the level that I wanted, where there's a nice contrast there between the orange and the brown. This mini has some evidence of me not being a good painter. As you can see here, we've got some salmon overflow on the wood. It's also, I guess, a good story on Speedpaint, because had that been Speedpaint, I would have been able to just wet my brush and take it right back. But because the salmon is just a regular paint, here it is here, I couldn't do that. It had dried, and there's nothing I can do except paint a primer or undercoat back over it and sort of fix things up. I decided to leave it. It's evidence of me learning as a painter, and so bit messy there. Otherwise, a really cool model to paint. And again with the face, just drawing attention to how difficult faces are. I like his eyebrows, they're kind of cool. I mean, he doesn't have eyebrows. Their faces are nothing like their character cards. You know, when you're trying to paint minis, there's a little bit of artistic license, or there's a little bit of restrictions about what you can do. I haven't put mud on him. He's probably a bit clean. Maybe he just woke up and had a shower, and this is his first load, so he hasn't got muddy yet. Yeah, so this is really fun mini to paint, and Speedpaint did its job. It was fantastic. Oh, the white shirt issue again with the holy white. That brings us to the Woodgatherer. And here we have, he's got a purple shawl thing, purple pants, carrying wood. And again, he looks pretty good, a really good representation from his character card there. So again, he has the same pallid bone for his hat. The purple is just straight up, undiluted hive dweller purple, and so you can see it is really dark. And contrast that to these are both hive dweller purple. So it just shows the flexibility that you have with these colors. I mean, they're just pigments in a bottle with a bit of whatever medium it is that makes them do what they do. So we've got the logs there. Again, these are just sort of one and done painted logs with the leather. Let's grab that so you can see it. It's hardened leather. It works really good for wood, and I painted these before I got dark wood, but I think dark wood would have been too dark. Or perhaps I could have done the bark as dark wood and the inside as a lighter colour. That would have probably have looked good as well. So onto our first monster. So in the game we have these fable cards, and you can play a monster figure effectively against the other players to do some sort of negative thing. So here all players at the Bad Wolves location must destroy one straw or wood house section. So yes, not a very pleasant thing to have these guys played against you. So you want them to be looking somewhat menacing. And here is my representation of this card. So he has a green waistcoat, white sleeves, white collar. He's got some gold buttons, which I did use metallics for. He's got his gold ended walking stick, black handle. He's an aging wolf, so for his face we've got some greying happening. Maybe went a little bit too heavy on the dry brush on the eyebrows, not sure. He's got bright red glowing eyes. So with the exception of the dry brushing white, this guy is Speedpaint, and the metallics. Speedpaint the whole way. The shawl, I'm trying to remember what colours I used. It was definitely blood red, but I mixed in, I think it was hive dweller purple. So blood red and hive dweller purple on the shawl. I think I went over it later with a straight up coat of slaughter red to give it a deeper red colour. And that came out really nice. So it was hive dweller purple, blood red for the shawl initially, and that looked good. It was fine, but I wanted to tweak it, and so I went over it with slaughter red. And again, no reactivation issues, just putting a coat of paint on stuff, and it was fine. And you can see it's done its job with the shading. That's darker way down here because of the zenithal prime, and lighter up the top because again the zenithal prime, but then in the recesses, this camera is not fantastic, but in the recesses there you can see it's done some shading. Yeah, and so he is, trying to remember, his colour is the grey. This one, Gravelord Grey. So that's his tail and legs, hands and head. And then I just rubbed off some of it. Just rub it off with your fingers, and to get some off for the greying. I also dry brushed a little bit of white for like the eyebrows, the tips of the ears and nose, so just add a little bit of extra. Yeah, and his pants I just used, the picture doesn't have his pants colour in it, so I wanted to dry out dark wood, so I gave him brown pants. Alright, so now I'm going to look at the wolf. Now the game comes with 2 wolves, so I've painted them both slightly differently. You can see here we've got blue moonlight and glowing red eyes. And so the first one we'll look at, I was trying to make that sort of impression. So he does have, you may not see it in the camera, but he does have some blue glow on the rocks and down his back. On the top of his head I added a little bit of glow to him, and then his eyes, I didn't just paint the red in his eyes, I did a bit of dry brushing and then with white, and then went over those areas with the red again, so he has a little bit of glow around his face, that red. Yeah, so that is him, and he is, both of the wolves, pretty much just Grimm black, so just a coat of this stuff. It's black, it's really nice, it's blacker than the base paint that I'm using, which is this stuff, so Vallejo black. It's really nice black. The Speedpaint, that is, the Speedpaint black is really nice. The Vallejo black is not black enough. It's a bit too grey. Alright, so then this guy, so again just a wolf. This one I went for piercing red eyes instead of trying that glowing effect. So he is just, oh, I don't have the moonlight effect either, so he's just straight up black. And then the glowing red. And I've done the sort of the white in the teeth with red gums, so we can focus on that. So red upper gums and then white teeth. So the red is speed paint, the white is just Vallejo white. This is where you can sort of, eyes and mouths is where you can kind of have some reactivation problems. So if you paint the eyes and you want to go over them, you know, instead of you just paint this guy black and then you put white in the eyes, that white's not going to show up, it's going to end up being a grey colour because of the 2 colours will blend, and this can happen days after painting. And same with the mouth, right? So I painted, I think, the eyes and the mouth red, and then I wanted to highlight the teeth white. Well, the first coat of white that I put on was red within minutes, because it reactivated that dry red paint and it ends up just blending. So you just keep doing it, I just kept doing coat after coat, end up having 5, 6, 7 coats, I can't remember, of white to make it look nice. And then after spraying with the varnish, I think I went on and I may have gone in and did some more. Yeah, if you're impatient, you don't want to just do multiple layers of coats, or that could obscure details, then just do a straight varnish and then do your white over it, and you won't have any reactivation blending type problems. So in saying that, the reactivation blending can be used to your advantage. So you paint white over something, it will just make it slightly lighter, it won't make it white, and so that if you know the properties of the paint you're using, it may become advantageous. Here we have the bridge troll. He's a little bit dark and brooding, coming out from his hidey hole. I should have probably made his skin a little bit lighter. He was lighter initially, but I went over him with camo cloak. I thought it was going to be lighter than it was. So I'll talk about his skin transition. So initially, I didn't have the full set. I only had some paint. So I made a blend of orc skin and pallid bone. So it was kind of like 3 parts pallid bone to like a drip of orc skin, and it made a really nice light green color. It almost matched identically with the card here, where it's that light green, like a brownie, light brownie green. But I was painting something else and had camo cloak open and went, oh, let's just put this over and see what happens. And it's made it a deeper, richer, darker green, so not quite matching that character card, but still a really nice color, and it has done what speed paint's supposed to do, where you've got the raised areas are lighter and his facial features are all highlighted, all you know, in his ears and stuff, like it's all pulled away how it's supposed to. I didn't do any shading on this at all. There's no washes. His arms, like it's all just gone on. All of this darkness here. Some of it in here will be the zenithal, but out here his arm was white initially, and you can see here it's done the shading that we want it to. So then I did his glowing eyes and his teeth with, I went over with white and then put pallid bone over those. The tree is just hardened leather, some nice light brown. In here, I think, oh, his cloak is dark wood, so a dark wood cloak, and just Grimm black underneath. There's a dark area, so let's just do all that Grimm black. Then I did Gravelord grey for these details, and then this is a really super nice color. I love this color. It's a runic grey, and that shading and stuff just came out really nicely on those stones and stuff. I was thinking I might pinpoint some stones and make a different color. You know, not all stones are the same color. There can be some variations. I might do that at some point, but I'm kind of feeling like I'm moving on to a different game now, so probably not, but I did have that idea. And down here you've got the detail. Every time that I had the yellow out to paint straw, I looked at all of the models and painted the straw at the same time. And so you can see here on the wolves there's straw, on the pigs there's straw, and so all of these were painted at the same time to get them the same colour. Every time I painted wood, I painted all of the models at the same time. The brick was a little bit different, like I said, with the so this brick colour here will probably be different to the other brick colours because they were done a little bit different. But yeah, that is the bridge troll. Then on to the giant. You definitely don't want the giant played against you in this game. Right, so this was the very first mini I painted, and he is very shiny, and I'm going to leave him shiny because it is a reminder of a mistake I made, and it wasn't reading the spray bottle can properly before I purchased it, and then again not reading it before I sprayed it, and so I accidentally purchased a satin varnish instead of a matte varnish. But yeah, that's why he is very shiny. There's a few other figures that I've got that have the same issue. I did a batch paint with the satin, but yeah, so they'll just be different. So yeah, onto the giant. So he's a yellow shirt. His pants aren't in the picture, so I painted them orc skin. I wanted to try out the green, and I think they turned out really nicely. It's a nice combo, the yellow and green. He's got A lot of leather, so this is all hardened leather. The boots, the straps, the bag. The bag in particular is amazing. If you are only going to buy one bottle of speed paint, it will be hardened leather, and I think everybody on YouTube is saying the same thing. This will replace whatever you're doing now for leathers. Hardened leather is the new way of doing it. He has ginger hair, so I made up a concoction of the Fire Giant Orange. Might be straight Fire Giant Orange. I might have lightened it with some yellow. And so we've got the hair going on with all of that shading happening naturally. That's all speed paint and all of that shading. Down here it's darker because I didn't know how to zenithal properly when I started, so I did not put enough white on the first figures I painted. I am not good at faces, so I just left the skin that I used. It's so he's Crusader skin, and it just darkens up those facial features really nicely. I just left them like that, so his eyes are just sunken in black sockets. I did add a little bit of white to his mouth to just lighten it up a little bit, and you can see it went pinkish, which I think looks fine. Yeah, other than that, we've got a house down here. I gave it a blue door because why not? Makes it sort of stand out a bit. And then I was trying out the metallics, so I did a silver on here and didn't do it too well. It's pretty messy. And then just went over the silver with, I think it might be the yellow, to sort of make it like a old copper pipe type thing. And we've got a sort of a path feature going on with the basing. Yeah, so that is the giant. Now, last figure, before we put this video to an end, I'll give you my final thoughts, is the dragon. And we've been staring at him this whole time in his little house there. So we have a dragon. It's a pretty boring dragon. He's just red with white bony bits. I can see other people have painted his front white, given the wings a bit of extra pattern and that kind of thing. I've just gone what the box said, so I have a red dragon with white bony bits. Yeah, so this took quite a bit of effort, a lot of retries with the highlights, and also different brush sizes, trying to not get the red to move over on those bony bits. Speed paint moves, gravity is a thing, and so yeah, it was very difficult for me to get those bony bits done like that. A lot of small brushes, a lot of going over them with white, doing those highlights, but then I'd go over them with white, I'd hit something that was red, and you know, it was all a bit of a process. It took a while for me to get it to where it is. And once I had the white on the bones to a brightness I was happy with, I went over them with pallid bone, and to give it that old bony aged look. The wings were basically one and done. This is it. This is speed paint out of the bottle. This was blood red, but the dragon has had his body and tail has had a few iterations. His entire body and tail has been dry brushed white at one point just to bring the tone of the color down, and then went back over it again with the blood red. I wanted it to, you can kind of see maybe that the wing is just darker, it's that darker level than the body, and it was because well, two things. One, the wing just wasn't really hit much with that. It has that zenithal effect as well. It's not just that darkness, but also it's because I just went over that with that dry brushing. Now he has glowing blue eyes. It is plasmatic bolt, I don't know what it's called. Yeah, plasmatic bolt. So yeah, great color. I love this color. And his teeth there. I did black on the inside of his mouth, and then just straight up white teeth. The tower he is on didn't quite turn out the colours I was anticipating. If I'd thought about it a bit, I would have actually chosen different colours, but I thought he must, we're building houses out of brick, so this must be made out of brick, and bricks are orange. And so I painted the tower orange. Because of the zenithal, the base of the tower turned out pretty black. And I think, well, really the roof itself was pretty dark as well. And so this has had multiple layers of dry brushing and orange to try and brighten it up a bit. It was way too dark. If I was to start again, I would probably treat this more like a castle tower and go with greys, and they would also look fantastic. We now know what like the runic grey looks like, and the Gravelord grey. They would have been amazing colours here and be more contrasty against the dragon. Whereas at the moment it sort of all blends into one colour mass. And then here I did the window. It's the same as like that little door. I painted it blue. I thought actually there's something happening in this tower that tells a story. There's a wizard or something in here brewing stuff. And so I've did that plasmatic bolt again, and then just made it that colour, sort of, break out of the room, just dry brushing with white and going over with some more colour. And then the basing that I did on this is just cotton wool. Just experimented with gluing cotton wool down, then ripping it off and gluing more down and ripping it off, and then spray painting over it. And it's not the cleanest base, but I think it doesn't make sense having a tower this short come out of the ground, and having it come out of clouds was sort of the best idea I had for it. So it sort of makes sense to me. And from far away, he is quite a menacing dragon. Yeah, so that's all the figures for this game. So yeah, let me know what your favorite figure is in the comments. Do you have a favorite color? Do you want to learn more about the basing? I mean, I'm not fantastic at basing. It's just glue, and then I put the Army Painter basing kit. Yeah, so they're all based. Grab a couple more to show again. Here's some pigs. Yeah, so yeah, interested to know what your feedback is. My final word on Speedpaint is that if it didn't come out, I would have really struggled with this project. The pink that I played with, the very little amount of stuff that I've done with regular acrylics has been super difficult, and the Speedpaint has been so easy to work with, so easy to undo mistakes. So I highly recommend it for new painters getting into the hobby, or that just have a couple of board games that they want to pimp out. So yeah, just really amazing product. So thank you, Army Painter, for the effort that you put into it. Every color is consistent and does what you expect it to do. There's some minor glitches where we need to learn how to use the paint, especially if we're doing it outside of the scope of one and done. If we've got more complex minis that require extra effort, extra layers, extra coats, extra bits that have to paint. You got lots of colors butting up against each other. If we've got complex figures, we need to learn how to use the product to support what it is we're wanting to get out of it, rather than the one and done approach. So yeah, ultimately on us to practice and learn. So yeah, I've got another 4 or 5 board games that I'm wanting to paint, and I'll be cracking on with those as soon as this video is done and published. So I look forward to doing that. That is me signing out. This has been the Mini Painting Noob. This was my review of Speedpaint. It gets a big thumbs up. So yeah, thanks again, Army Painter.